Hey, what's up all my YouTubers? How are you guys doing? I got a video here. It's going to be a somewhat quick tutorial. Who knows if that's really true or not. But today I figured I'd go ahead and show you guys a little technique. Now, I have been making a series of videos that are going to be going up on patreon.com for all of my patrons, which are going to be advanced tutorials, going to be talking about sketching, how to draw people, some more human anatomy, some things of that nature. And this is going to be a video that has one of those techniques. So this is kind of a taste of what you would get if you become a patron. Alright, let's take a look. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how I do coloring in lines of trying to figure out how to make a realistic transition in color, you know, and I've learned that there are two different things. One is natural shadows, and the other is color in general. Like, for instance, my skin and my beard on my face here are two completely separate colors. But the transition from my nose to the side of my nose, here where the shadows are, it's the exact same color skin, but the lighting is causing the change in color. Makes sense? These two things play against each other quite a lot, especially if you're trying to draw realism. So I'm going to show you guys a couple little tricks here in this video. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is start with just a light pencil, and I'm gonna go into my Copic 358 color series and just grab a black, mainly for sketching purposes, and really all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna draw a circle, okay? And usually what I'll do, if I do a drawing that I know I'm gonna turn into realism, I'll change that layer to multiply, and I'll darken it, so it just has a different effect on how it lays on top of other colors and stuff. So with that circle now, I can go ahead and make a layer underneath, and that's where I'm going to go ahead and start painting things. Let's go ahead and start with like a green tone, and also grab just a pen, and I'm just going to do like my G pen, which is built into Manga Studio as a factory default. That way it just makes it easy. You guys don't have to program extra brushes or anything. And I'm just going to go ahead and color this in green, okay? Now, usually I have so many details going on in an image that I've used, and there's so much work that goes into drawing out a character and then beginning to color it in to get those forms. So usually the sketching is going to be very important. In this case, the sketching won't be, but I'm going to go ahead and leave it in there just because. But I'm going to dim it just a little bit more, and I'm going to take my layer with the color. I'm going to clean up the outsides really quick. Whoops. Alright, just like that, just quickly, just erasing the outer circle. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'll set this to have a transparency lock on it. That way I can alter the color as I see fit. Now, the best way that I've learned to make this happen is to go to the extreme darkest and the extreme lightest, and then gradient between them. So I'll show you what I mean. We're going to go to the extreme lightest, and I'm going to just do like a basic ball or circle or whatever. And I'm going to put that extreme light in one corner. Now I'm going to go ahead and change my brush, and I'm going to grab like a Photoshop round. And these are all brushes that I will include for my patrons. I haven't put them up yet, but I am going to give them to all of my patrons as free brushes that they can use. And then I'm going to go ahead and select the dark, and I'm going to put that dark down here, okay? Now, with these colors in mind, I know what my most extreme bright is that I want to go to, and my most extreme dark. So this is going to be basically just working on shadow, and the shadow is the same idea here, where you can see that my skin tone goes to a darker skin tone, even though you know that the color is pretty much the same. It might be a slightly different look and pigmentation, but roughly the color's the same. Now, what I'll usually do, if I'm working on this project for a while, is I will grab the swatches and I will make one more layer, not two, and I'll go ahead and do the dark layer, the medium layer, and the light layer. That way I know the three colors that I'm going to be dealing with the most, and then from those I will go ahead and begin my inputting of the colors. Okay, so there's a couple different ways I can go about doing this. I'm trying, 2015 is about trying to be a bit more realistic in my artwork. So I'm going to go ahead and do this kind of how I would as if I was painting it in real life. So I'll grab a brush that's a bit more brushy, if you will. And let's go ahead and grab my sparse bristle brush, because I like my sparse bristle brush. Sparse bristle brush. Say that 3 times fast. Sparse bristle brush. And I'm just going to go ahead and start taking that tone, I selected the light tone with my eyedropper. You're going to love eyedropper. Learn to love that eyedropper. And I'm just going to go ahead and start by applying a very light form of light tone on the top. And then I'm going to go grab the bottom. I'll do the same thing with the bottom, working my way up towards the top. Okay? And you can kind of see that it's already starting to take its shape a little bit. And I'm just going to keep going like that until it really starts to take on this effect that I want to make it look 3D. Okay? Alright. Now, actually, I admit I'm using the wrong layer. And if I was to use the right layer, I'd be over here where my transparency lock is. But who cares? You guys get the gist, right? Yeah, okay. So let's go ahead and just keep going here. There is no right or wrong way to draw, okay? Some people might tell you otherwise, but there is no right or wrong way to draw. You do what you want to do. Alright, so there we go. So now I got in my really dark tone, and I know that's the darkest I want to go. So let's go work on the highlight a little bit more. And I know I want to go at the highest point, but you can see what I'm trying to do is I'm only going back and forth, and I'm trying to gradient it. I'm not doing really many selections at all. I'm using the sparse bristle brush, and it can be any brush. It can be any brush. It doesn't have to be this brush specifically. Don't be thinking, oh, he's got a brush that I need. Give me that brush and I can make the world happen. That's not how this is going to be. This is only just one technique, and you can use any brush. Just set it to a low opacity. That's really all you need to do. Just take that opacity and drop it down. You do that, you'll have a good end result, okay? There is no winning tool that's going to fix this. You know, this is just one option. I like how it looks, I like how it feels, and it just has that tone that I like. Now that I'm getting close to the areas that I want to be in, if my pen will behave, because sometimes this thing wigs out, I'm going to go ahead and select my mid-tone, and I'm going to make my brush just a bit bigger, and I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to go ahead and start trying to make sure that that mid-tone shows. Okay, and I'm going to just blend it with everything else, and I'm going to cut into the other colors to try and make sure that I'm not overdoing it. Now, I'll sample the inside colors. So I'm not sampling from my 3 shapes out here. I'm sampling inside the shape, and I'm just going to start blending stuff together. It looks pretty cool. I'll go ahead and turn off the outer shape now, and you'll see that it looks like a 3D form. It would look more like a 3D form if I had kept it within the locked layer. But of course I didn't do that, but here's the positive. I can show you what it used to look like and what it looks like now. And you can see that there's definitely a difference going on. The nice thing about this brush is it already has the lighter I push, the less opacity it's going to put out, and the more I push, the more opacity it's going to push out. But you can set all of those functions in Photoshop, in Manga Studio, in whatever program you're using. So this is not just a one program thing. There's lots of programs that can do it. Don't fear, if I'm working in Manga Studio, you can do this exact same technique in Photoshop. And that's not a problem. There is no absolute. Okay, so there you go. And I want to just kind of make it as clean as possible. You might find that once you get this done, you might want to go in with a blending brush. And Photoshop has their blending brushes, and Manga Studio has theirs. Manga Studio is just the more affordable thing for illustrators like myself. And I've done some fairly realistic looking pieces in here, so I know that this is capable of doing what Photoshop can do. So I'm just a fan of Manga Studio. Now I could go in here and I could render this out forever, but I'm not going to do that. So there you go. You can basically call that the right shape, and if I really want to, I can, let's see, can I turn off that layer? No, I can't. I need to keep that background layer in there, but I can just erase the outside of this and give you a feel for how it might look if it was slightly cleaned up. It's not going to be perfect, but who said I was perfect? I like being imperfect. There we go. All right. And then if you really want to show off, then you can just go ahead and grab like a really dark tone closer to black and maybe grab an airbrush. And I need to put a transparency lock on here and just airbrush in the bottom a little bit more with that. Kind of like that. And I'm going to make another layer just below that. And we'll just do a little doohickey like that off to the side. And then we'll grab a highlight, and I'm just going to go ahead and grab it closer into my whites. Grab just a basic pencil. And just right in the top here, I'll put a little tiny dinky dot of white. Or not. Let's try pure white. Ah, there you go. So there you go, guys. That's one way to do that. Now, that's only looking at the basic idea of doing shading from light to dark without a transition of color. If you want to see that video in transition of color, look for the next video that will be on my Patreon account where you guys can see more. All right, thanks, guys. I hope that you enjoyed it.
Bye.